everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If anybody is tuning in, I wanted to do this presentation on Concord for Me Limited, the nonprofit bridging the gap between abuse, addiction, and systems. So we're in the next chapter. A lot of movement and growth and a lot of experience that has come with learning what it means to be a founder and navigating the business of it. So we're at the next chapter. We are a NPI case management agency, peer support, and professional services. This is who we are and what we've built and where we go next. And this has always been the goal, to be a trauma-informed bridge between abuse, addiction, and systems. Concord for Me bridges the gaps between behavioral health, advocacy, accountability, and community connection through trauma-informed, person-centered support for people and the clinical and carceral systems do not fit. So we were established in March 2024, credentialed 2025 as an independent NPI, and then now as an agency in 2026. We serve more than 3 counties. I'll have to edit that on the but these are the counties that we serve: Arapahoe, Douglas, Adams, Jeffco, and El Paso. I do not have Denver on there because I have worked with clients in Denver, and currently there is not a sustainable support system out there for the work that I'm trying to do here. And so I eventually want to be able to work actively in Denver, and we're getting to that point. Just right now, this is where we're at: Arapahoe, Douglas, Adams, Jeffco, and El Paso. Clients from Denver have been able to come to these other counties for sheltering. Denver is a very different situation at the moment. Okay. So this is between abuse, addiction, and the system's mental health. There is a major gap. A lot of people probably know this, and how do we solve it? Well, that's what we're here for. So existing services treat each issue in isolation. Survivors are handed from refugee to waitlist to relapse, and families with IDD and neurodivergent needs wait years on waiver waitlists. The cost shows up everywhere else. It's a domino effect. Repeat refuge stays. The same survivors return because nothing bridged the exit. Emergency admissions, crisis land in hospitals instead of steady coordinated care, and child removals. Families separate when support arrives too late or not at all. 1 team and 6 core services. So this model that I have envisioned since day one of at one point it was just okay, a safe haven, and then it was like okay, a community resource center. As time has gone on and learning and understanding where the gaps are and the problems that systems are claiming they're solving, but then creating another gap. And this was my biggest thing of this model, because so many of us are on a journey, but a lot of us have a similar mission purpose, especially if we're coming from lived experience, or we have a lot of lived experience by taking care of another individual who has gone through similar situations and crisis and domestic violence, addiction, you name it. So the biggest thing is okay, we are funding over and over and over 30 years now the same nonprofit models and the same agencies and the same modalities that have been stabilized, and they have a backlog and they have a reoccurring door. And that's not what I want for this nonprofit, because as someone who worked with boots on the ground in the homeless shelters, the rehabs, the safe havens, the this I've seen it that it doesn't provide service, but it provides a temporary stability till they just end up right back in survival and then crisis all over again. And that's the biggest question that a lot of the times I was asked, what are you going to do to help us keep this wheel, like, don't reinvent the wheel, but let's add to the wheel to make it better operating for people? Like, no, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, and I definitely don't want to add to it. I want to get people off of this hamster wheel, and I want them to be able to create their own vision, their own life. And in order to do that, we need to establish first the safety, and then we need to address those basic needs with a structural system. Not just, okay, now we got a bunch of money, we're going to go get a building, we're going to hire a bunch of random people and do a bunch of training, waste a ton of dollars on all that, and then all of a sudden we're going to serve a bunch of people and probably help maybe 3 or 4, really help them out of 150. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. I've seen it. It doesn't, yes, you can't save them all, and you're not meant to save somebody. But with mission purpose, you are meant to establish your intention on what the commitment is and where you want it to go to make a lasting impact for not just one person, but for generations. And this is not going to be a system where we want a reoccurring door. This is not going to be a system where we want to keep people sick because that keeps money coming in. No, that was one of my biggest like advocacy and whistleblower things when I was in these sectors, was realizing that so much of this money being poured into these organizations, and they had the whole spiel and the mission purpose and all the stuff, but the actual framework was so broken because there was no stability, structure, consistency to support a team. And I would never say how many times, like, I literally felt in organizations like this that I would be running the show on my own shifts because no one was there to support besides my coworker. And that's where this model, one team and 6 core services, is where we are our own individual teams, but it's also going to be a community. But it's going to be a structurized community with education and growth of sense of self and intellectual engagement of understanding what it means to not just grow in education and learning from textbooks, but to engage in intellectual conversations and emotional intelligence, because that is literally the self actualization that we want every human being in society to reach. But majority of humans who are suffering or just in survival or living, but then jump back to the paradigm of survival and then back to suffering, they literally only get 2 to 3% of that self actualization. And it's so sad because everything is so, it's so like surface level, and it's so all for show. No, this none of this is all for show. This is going to take work, and it's going to take people who are hearing what I'm saying and are really encompassing it, of like, yeah, one of these models, whether it be the safe haven sheltering, the discovery coaching, the case management, the peer support, the crisis intervention, the life skills and relationship education, one of these models, or if it's all of them, but speaking to an individual to their core of being like, man, I wish I would have had that, or that is so, she's like so right, or if I could have this today, I would not be here. I would want to take advantage of it. So, really just thinking about that for a moment. The one team and 6 core services. This is one team. This is not, okay, we're going to have 6 different teams, because then what happens is people get lost in those 6 different teams. So, the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm looking for individuals who are passionate, who have intention in being mission purpose led, of understanding what it means to come from crisis and literally want to see people thrive. That is that compensation, is to be able to see someone transform their lives around just by literally the offering and support of your services. So yeah, it's going to be one team, 6 core services. The safe haven sheltering will be a secure space, have a house manager, and that's a whole other model I'm going to show. And so this is not going to be a thing of where we're just going to have like a homeless shelter. No, this is going to be a real safe haven sheltering where survivors are going to learn to be self sufficient, heal, grow, get the support they need, and then for themselves choose. So, the life skills and relationship education, the peer support, and the discovery coaching and the case management is really going to get survivors of domestic violence or survivors who are in recovery but on the verge of relapse, to get them to be able to want to reach that self actualization and really discover their true sense of self without self sabotage. But it is going to take, obviously, for one, their want, but it's also going to take a team that really does care. So, right now, where we're at is we have one recovery coach, um, we have a director of our peer program, and we are partnered with the national partner, Daughters of the Suns in South Carolina, mental health, and then case management, life skills and relationship education, and discovery coaching. So these two, the discovery coaching is a curriculum model that I'm eventually going to get accredited and wanting to put it in front of Lisa Navajids as well, because this discovery coaching curriculum that I created started in 2024 when the first client, we started paper. We started really generic, like worksheets in the morning, really basic. And that's where we began. And then it was the practice exercises, and then it was the accountability, the discipline, the all the things. So there's all data behind this. Um, and then I seen what didn't work and I seen what did. And then there was the next client, and we did something similar, but this time it was all digital. We had some paper, but it was all digital, easy accessible. And then the third client, though, that's where things really started to show me even more, because there was more, I don't like to say issues, but there was more of a grief, there was more of a complex situation. So when kids are not supported, the more grief, the more shame, the more guilt, the more responsibility when you are in recovery, and then you're having to navigate these complex systems, the harder it is to not want to self sabotage, because it's a lot of stress and it just feels sometimes impossible. But this discovery coaching model really brings it back to that accountability, but then also that self compassion, having the compassion without the doubt, and then the misery pity party, because coaching is very different than therapy. I never wanted to be a therapist. I am fascinated by psychology and I absolutely love the work that therapists do. It's amazing. But me myself, I'm not meant to be a therapist. I've always had this drive of being more of a coaching model, and it's most likely because of my own lived experiences and what I've gone through. But this coaching model really gets them to dive deep, and it also holds them accountable though without like guilt tripping them more and shaming them. And then being able to work with peer support is where then yes, they can lean on peer support. Peer support is not your coach. They're very different. Case manager is not your coach. Very different. Uh, yes, we all work in a similar modality, but these are very different roles. And with this discovery coaching curriculum, it's going to be very disciplined with the coaches. They have to go through a training, they have to get certified, they have to have at least a bachelor's degree, and they have to have a little bit of lived experience. To work this coaching model, they can, like, and I'm not saying this because people who go to college and learn textbooks and have master degrees and all the things that they can't do it. It's just because in order to be this type of coach for domestic violence survivors, you have to have that little bit, even just a little bit of that lived experience, because you cannot coach someone where you have not been in their shoes, where you have not even been able to grasp what they're going through. And that is another reason why I could never be a therapist. And it was probably because all the therapists I've ever had, none of them had lived experiences, but they were all great at what they did. It was just very different for me. They never really gave me any educational uh, accountability, like to discipline. It was a lot of validation. Therapy, yes, it's for validation. It's for, expressing everything that has happened to you. 100%. Coaching, that's not that place. That's okay. We're going to get off that therapy model. This is a coaching. What do you need done? Where are you at? What do you got to do? Like, what do you got to do right now? And what are you going to do it? And then I'm going to help you by guiding you and letting you know, okay, what is going to happen if this situation comes up? Or let's do a simulation, right? And so this was what I was doing. And then we got to the digital model, so my client, um, she so resilient. She had so much going on her plate, and she always inspired me. The way that she would show up. But anyways, so as you start to discover your sense of self, and you start to discover all the things that you never had the opportunities to do, or maybe you're discovering that you really don't have a community circle that is really your circle and it was more of a cage. A whole plethora of things start to happen when you start really doing the healing and growth. And that's what the coaching model is there for. So that way, it's sort of like a sponsor, but not necessarily. But the coach is there for when they're picking up right away when a survivor is already going to self sabotage, they've already checked out, they're already not at that point of, I don't want to do this, I'm done, I'm just going to go right back. Because these coaches, the curriculum they go through, it's a lot of intellectual and emotional education that I have retained myself from not only Dr. Joe Dispenza, but other individuals like Dr. Nicole LaPera, Lisa Navajits, for one of my favorites, Brene Brown, Dr. Daniel Amen, and then so many others. Like the whole curriculum, and then I'm working towards getting it to be a college educational accredited. So that way it's at least worth 2 credits or one, because the work that I put into this it goes in depth. So, anyways, the coaches, they are to be there to be the net. So, we're going through therapy, we're in our triggers, we're doing our EMDR or EDMR, um, and all of a sudden now we want to escape. Like the survivor wants to escape. There's thoughts of the relapse or stealing or whatever, all the things. And so here comes the coach, where they're trained to pick it up off of behavioral profiling, understanding those first before they even coach with them, though, they get the whole entire overview of them. Coaching doesn't begin until week 3 because not every client that comes into the safe haven sheltering will be eligible for coaching. These are individuals that are ready for it because you can coach someone all day, but if they are not ready for it, and I don't say ready for it because like you're never really ready for change, but I mean, and not intellectually, I mean intellectually, basic needs. So pretty much, for instance, I'll give like, I'm kind of rambling here, but anyways, I'll just give a perfect example. Individual comes in, has a diagnosis of schizophrenia, only 30 days in recovery, uh, has been homeless for the last maybe 3 weeks, major crisis. They're not going to be able to be eligible for coaching in 3 weeks. That is straight up. We need to establish, for one, we need to get them to their 60 days at least. Um, we need to send them out to a referral, whether it's rehab, sober living, somewhere else. Because this safe haven shelter, we are not going to be taking in individuals who are in that state because that's not what this safe haven shelter is for. This safe haven shelter is for individuals who have done the work, who are in the work, but they are now back in crisis. They know what it's like to be sober long enough to know what it's like to live in freedom, to feel safe, but then crisis happening. This is for the individuals who want it bad enough that they're going to drop a UA to prove that they're clean enough past the 60 days or at 60 days. They're during their intake, which is a 3-day intake. So the first night is just rest, sleep, food, the care bag. Next day is the assessment. And then the third day is where the assessment goes through to the team, which is case management, the advocate, and the peer support, and then the director. It's going to go through that, and we're going to evaluate where this person is at on the Maslow's basic needs hierarchy model. We're going to score it, and then after we score it, the coach is going to come in on the next day and then reevaluate that. And then the coach makes the decision whether this individual is going to be able to complete this full program. And if, like, not able to complete the full program, take that. If they're going to be capable where they're at to move forward with a coach in third week. And so, say they score really low on hygiene and they score really high on education because it's not like, oh, one model fits all. Like, I've worked with clients who are super smart, who are literally have their degrees to be a teacher, but are not at the safety model, like not understanding boundaries, not understanding self-care, not understanding all that. So that's what I'm saying, like the coach is going to really pull this, and it's not saying that, okay, they are not going to be able to be in the program. It's saying that I'm not going to be able to take on this client until they get to another level where I can serve them. Because we don't want to waste the coach's time, and we also don't want to waste the individual's time. Because we need to establish safe grounds first, basic needs. So, anyways, moving forward, what it's going to be is they'll go through the intake, submit it through the site. Right away, we're going to see where they're at in the crisis. Are they in an active crisis? Is this an active DV situation? Is this a stalking situation? Is this a situation where we had a minor relapse or we are in a full relapse, longer term? So we're not going to be serving, we cannot serve individuals in the safe haven shelter who are not in at least the 60 days. For one, we don't have an RN right now. That is the goal down the way. We don't have an RN. We don't have the staff to monitor and make sure that it's just not going to be the space. And the second one is we are going to evaluate whether we can serve them. We're not going to be able to serve someone who has a severe psychosis or a severe mental health diagnosis that they need right away psych meds, they need monitoring. We're not going to be able to do that. We're also not going to be able to serve someone who is on the run or has a warrant because of the fact that we can't put other survivors that are in the home at risk. And so that's where we have to refer out. So who do we take in? So we take in domestic violence survivors and individuals who are in recovery, at least if they're 60 days, who know how to have a job, who know the options that are available, who want it bad enough that they're not going to fight to drop a UA. If they're going to fight to drop a UA, they don't even need to be offered the opportunity, because that's just all the drama that this place is not going to be for. This place is going to be for people that, for one, need it, but also want it. They don't have to be ready for it, but want it bad enough. And then we'll have our referrals to the rehabs, the sober livings. And so this is the biggest thing. We are funding like millions, billions of dollars to organizations that are just throwing free stuff at individuals who are either still in addiction or individuals who are not out of their crisis entirely and still have the plan to go back. They just wanted a temporary moment away, escape. And it's just, it doesn't only impact these individuals, but it also impacts society and the community around. And it increases the crime rates as well. And it also, like for instance, for a rehab, when an individual gets admitted there and they do an intake, they're already charging Medicaid a ton of money. And so Medicaid is paying for that. And then they get in there and then they just, like within a few days, sometimes they take off, or when they graduate, they done had a free ride and just went right back to then doing the same thing they were doing, because in there they were told everything that happened to them, told everything that was wrong, told everything that they need to do, but was never given an actual community that was going to support them in the real life situations outside of the walls. And that's what this is. Like the case management, they're not going to be coaching. The case management is not going to be your peer support. Case management is strictly like, what documents do we got to do? What appointments? What official things need to be established to help you move forward? Do we need to get you enrolled in college? Do you need your driver's license? Do we need to follow up on this court case? Do you have a doctor's appointment? What's going on with your kids? Like, are there, just all that stuff. That's all case management. Not like, yeah, obviously we're not going to be mean or anything, but case management is going to have to be disciplined of not doing outside of their scope work, because that is what I see in these organizations. There was so many times when I was a peer support and at the same time I was a case manager, I was a crisis interventioner, and it's because, yeah, right, we wear all the hats, but in a functional organization that is successful for the people and not for the profit of the organization, that should not be happening. And then we're going to have a house manager. They're not going to be the coach, the case manager, the peer support, very different. They're just going to manage the house. They're going to make sure that like there's no crazy things going wrong with it, like the CO2 stuff. They're going to make sure that the fridge is not getting mold in it, just the basic needs of the house. The house manager is going to have to do the compliance of the curfews, the checking in, but they're not going to be doing any of the interviewing and the drug testing and all that stuff. They're managing the house. And so that way it separates the conflict of interest where individuals, feel some type of way because, oh, this is one thing that I've seen in sober livings that I did not think, this is why some of them have failed. They would get a individual that had been living there and living there long enough and sober to be the house manager. And then all of a sudden, well, I don't know about men's houses, but more so the women's houses, then there's fights, then there's stealing, then there's drama. And it's because of that resentment, that bias. You're creating a power dynamic of like, okay, well, she's better. So, and that's all it is this house manager will be someone they do not know. That live This house manager will not live in the house. This house manager will come to, like, it's a work. It's come in, clock out. Don't be intervening in their coaching. Don't be intervening in the case management. Like, none of that. That is literally like a property manager doesn't, like, well, for not the recovery houses, but a property manager doesn't intervene on certain individual's personal life. And so that's where this a house manager will pretty much be like our property manager, making sure things are running smooth. Yes, they still will be making sure that hopefully we won't have any situations of like code reds or code blues. But if we do, we have things in place in this model where we will have an attorney that will be looking at the cameras right off the bat as soon as it's flagged, and then we're working on getting an outreach team that will show up before, hopefully. If they don't show up before, they'll show up regardless that same night. So that way it's not just police officers and firefighters and paramedics like coming into the home and then making everything all a little offset. It will be our team of advocates that will come in and check in on everybody. Yeah, obviously we're gonna, if it's a code blue, we're gonna get the person the medical care they need, of course, or if it's like a fire or something, we're gonna make sure that we are serving our people in the home with our team before other individuals come out from these authorities and try to, make it seem like it's something else. Because this is going to be a safe haven sheltering. This is not going to be just another homeless shelter or a sober living. This is a safe haven sheltering. Keyword haven, meaning this is a home. This is becoming a community where you learn what it means to be safe and learn what it means to have a family model. And another reason why I say that is because in my recovery and in my survival and all the other things, I have met more strangers that have become more of family to me than my own family. And other people have said this to me too, but it's true. The reality of lived experience brings other individuals together when they can have a structural and safe environment. All right, so the life skills and relationship education, these are going to be by teachers. These are going to be individuals who have studied communications or even peer recovery coaching. Like peer support can also want to teach these classes if they like. This is also going to be having to have some college experience though. This is going to be the relationship education model that Real Essentials, where I got my certificate from. And we're also going to add in some NCI, which is another certification of intellectual intelligence. So it's going to be great. Like, this is not just going to be something, this is going to be an actual safe haven that works. All right, moving forward. Currently, the model right now, we're a virtual mobile office. We meet people where they are. There's no waiting room, and our team works through an online platform and a mobile office model today, while the Safe Haven Center becomes the physical home for this work tomorrow. So we've been an online platform since 2024. We became more established and known in 2025. Um, and then Mile High Bosses partnership, Crystal Garcia, she amazing person. Also, she has lived experience, survivor. So she has that go getter, motivating mentality that I just inspires me all the time. And so she was wanting to partner. Both of us are partnering together because our missions are aligning. Um, she pours back into the entrepreneur and business community, and then the fundraiser events. This is going to be where we're throwing events that we're bringing a bunch of other artists, DJs, you name it, just individuals, and promoting them, marketing them, and then providing a get together, a fun event for community outside of our own community to show up and get to know us and network. All right. And then this is where we're going to be getting into the Safe Haven Center, Safe Haven Community Center. So, this is going to be not the Safe Haven shelter. This is going to be the Safe Haven Community Center. I don't know how many times when I was going into a building to do some documentation or just hopefully meet with somebody, a case manager or somebody, and the building was like lines, get a number, people sitting at desks, and then other people kind of lost just waiting around, but then empty rooms, just empty rooms and spaces. And I'm thinking in my head, like, this huge building is not being utilized. Meanwhile, we are telling people to take a number, and people are walking around confused. We got glass windows up, and people asking simple questions, and then just being told, "Ah, get it." Like, it's insane. Like, I just didn't understand it. It's a human services building that, to me, had no humanity of connection in it all. So the Safe Haven Community Center is going to be, you can go in there and meet your case manager. We're going to have advocacy, therapy, and healing, the food security. We want to have the food banks there, also a closet of donated clothes, hygiene products, and also for children, basic needs stuff, especially if they're enrolled in services with case management. And then we got the workforce. So Arapahoe Douglas Workforce, they're a great model, but it's like, once again, you have this huge building and like these empty rooms and these empty computers, and you got people waiting, like they're working as employees, but like it's empty. And it's like, why is something? It's like, because one, people don't really want to go through the whole process of trying to navigate everything on their own. For two, it takes effort to really like be like, okay, I gotta punch in my social, I gotta get on the computer and then figure out like what I you need someone there, especially when you're going through crisis. So we're gonna open up at 9 or 8 a.m. as intakes are taken on the line through the app that we have, and then 9 a.m. the center opens. So say we get a crisis call at 8 a.m. and then it's not a crisis call, it means 911 obviously, but a crisis call that someone is in dire need of support. We have open availability. We look at our schedule, we see where our case managers are at. We're like, okay, come in at 9:30. Case manager is on the schedule for 9:30. Case manager meets with the individual. They Whether they need to do like the full enrollment. So where the full enrollment is like, okay, they're going to get a case manager, they're going to get a career navigation specialist, they're going to get the youth mentorship, they're going to get the ABA or the speech therapy, the early intervention if they have kids. They're going to get the whole thing. It just really depends where they're at. If they're a domestic violence victim, they're going to get the advocacy. If they're in recovery, they're going to get the peer support, they're going to get the recovery coaching. Now, individuals do not have to go through an intake to come into this building. It opens at that time for people who are on the call line, for people who have already put in intakes over online. But then it's going to open up at 10 a.m. for our co working workforce space. So individuals who just need an office for the day or need a meeting room, say they're an entrepreneur, a therapist, a Reiki, any type of professional, they're going to be able to book a room like as you can at the library. They're going to be able to book a room, see what's available, book it for their time, and then they're going to come in, meet their client, and then we're going to have a cafe in this place as well. So maybe if they want to get breakfast, we're also going to have a child care too. So they need to come in and do a little bit of work. If they purchase a membership, they're going to be able to be the first to drop off their child in childcare. And so this is where we're really going to pour back into not just relying on grants and loans and all the things. We're going to pour back into the community in different models. So, for one, work life stress balance is huge, especially when you're trying to open up your own business, trying to open up your own practice, or you're just trying to transition from your 9 to 5 into something different. And that's what I want this space to be. I just don't want this space to serve individuals in crisis. I want it to be the modality of like, okay, we are serving individuals in crisis on the back end and on boots on the ground, but at the same time, we're integrating it with also the individuals who are not in crisis. And their membership pours back into sustaining the building, the center. And then we're going to open up for the day center around 11 a.m. and also the therapeutic play, such as like for kids, a drop-in type of deal if parents just want to take a break. And then the day center for PASA providers, or even ABA therapists. Like if they don't want to go to the library or they don't want to go to the client's house, they want to try to get the individual out in a different community setting, they can come here and provide services. And then we're going to have the education model, which is where we'll have starting with 5 computers. 2 of them will be specifically reserved for the important stuff, like looking for a job. You're not going to be able to access any social media on there. Not going to be able to access any of those sites that will get them distracted. And then the other computers, yeah, those will be accessible for all that other fun stuff. And then we're also going to have a podcast room. So we're going to pour into the youth because we want to teach the youth. Everybody knows that everybody wants to be YouTuber, everyone wants to be monetized, everybody wants to make money fast. Our younger generation, it's like a psychological warfare right now. What's going on with YouTube? It's horrific. Um, to teach them this is how you can make money off of YouTube instead of YouTube making money off of you and draining your mental health. And that's my biggest thing. I am not against expanding knowledge into coding, expanding knowledge into social media, expanding knowledge into something that during COVID, unfortunately, during COVID was a horrible time, but the reality of technology, the reality of community through social media and online had strengthened. And obviously, like one of the individuals I listen to all the time, she said, the thing that you have in your hand makes millions of dollars. It literally does. It makes millions of dollars off you every day by scrolling, by you purchasing something. Your phone is a money making machine and it banks off of you every day as long as you're a consumer. So use your phone as the bank instead of your phone using you as a bank. I don't know if I said that right, but regardless, literally, like, that's what I want to teach the youth. I want to teach the youth, don't just go to school, graduate, and then get in a bunch of debt to go to college. Learn another trade. Like, learn a business, learn a model. And that's also where Mile High Bosses is going to come in too, because she works a lot in this realm. Also, with understanding like life insurance, all that stuff is super important. And then we got the legal support. So legal support will be, right now we have one volunteer paralegal. We're working to get other lawyers and firms, individuals on board who can help us with court navigation and disability and civil rights and also domestic violence, criminal, you name it. We're going to be I don't know if any of you have heard of the Jamlac, but we want to be like a Jamlac model, but an actual model that is going to have the community behind it. Not just where you're going to come in and meet with your lawyer and then wait like weeks later to hear anything back. You're going to be able to come in, meet with your lawyer, have your kid enjoying the community with other kids, maybe check out, maybe there's an event going on the next day, maybe see like, oh, there's a therapist that does Reiki, or there's a therapist that does hypnosis, or there's a therapist like I need to go do trauma therapy. Like, do self care while you're going through this really complex situation. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the safe housing. So that is going to funnel into the enrollment of individuals. Like, if the case manager knows they need safe housing, we got that other model that we were talking about earlier. Okay. From grassroots nonprofit to credentialing or to a credentialed agency. And this is something that I was literally like, I went to Hard Beauty and I absolutely loved the organization. I went over there while I was a case manager with Developmental Pathways. And I said, I had a conversation and I was like, what would it look like? Management agency, parents, we could imagine what we could do. And how they got to where they are today, going in and doing all the things. But we never got back to that conversation of partnering as case management agency. And so ever since that day, I had always held it in my head of that exact model. What would it look like if sober livings, if peer support specialists and all the things actually had a integrated case management agency model inside of it? Not one they're partnering with that where we got to track down the phone number, but partnered inside of it. Um, and literally showing up as a case management model, not mixing the lines between, okay, I'm going to be your best friend. A case management is not going to be your best friend. They're going to be the person that's supposed to help you navigate getting the stuff done. And then your advocate is going to be the one who's going to advocate for you when you have something to say. Obviously, you can communicate to the case manager, but you're going to rely on your advocate and your peers. All right. So this is pretty much kind of been rambling, but regardless, by day, it's going to be a place to do the hard work together. We're opening a community safe haven during the day. It is a working space where adults move their lives forward while their children are cared for in the same building. We're going to have the intervention and prevention casework. We're going to have the workforce education and co working, the mental health, therapeutic, the creative, and the resource services, and then the youth and children's supports. Um, I think I said this wrong earlier, but 8 a.m. is when we're going to open the lines. So we get a call that someone's in active domestic violence. It's not a 911 situation at the moment. We're going to go ahead and get them right away in so they can come in at 9 a.m. And then at 10 a.m. is when the co working space is going to open up. 11 a.m. is the community day center and child center, where PASA providers, if they got clients, they want to do day center, they can go ahead and come on in. Or if we just have individuals that want to do see a client in the office and they have a child, they can go ahead and bring them into the child care center. And with that co-working space and the mental health therapist, if they decide to whether it's partner with us or actually just lease a office space from us, they get that child care center at a discounted rate. And then the cafe is going to open at 12 p.m. and it stays open till 9, because at 4 p.m. when the work is done, this space is turning into a speakeasy entertainment center from 5 p.m. to 9:30. So the single mom that's exhausted after work and has a rambunctious child that she can't get going down to bed, she wants to go out and be on her computer for a minute or do something like in this community space, she's going to be able to do that because we're going to have the the space like how Bounce, I don't know if you guys know Bounce Empire, but how Bounce Empire is. Upstairs is like the doll hangout, it's the lounge, the movie theater. Downstairs is like all the fun for the kids. But we're gonna make it like the We Rock the Spectrum model. I don't know if any of you heard of that, but it's an absolute amazing place. And so is the Third Place for Kids, another amazing place. Both of these company models are what's going to be in this center for these children. And so that's another conversation, but that's the goal where mom and dad have not had a date night, so they want their kid to have fun. Go ahead and come out, and then we're gonna have like events. We're gonna have movie screenings. Like we're gonna just do stuff that's gonna be different. Not where you're gonna go to Olive Garden and keep telling your child to sit down and be quiet, or you're gonna have to pay an arm and a leg for a babysitter. And then we are going to look in what it's going to be to have a drop-in care around the 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. time. I've seen this with other models with kids care because I have also used to utilize it. It was a blessing to have it then. We don't have it now, um, but this is something that I believe is going to help save relationships, and it's also going to help save parents a lot of stress to be able to have something like this. And same thing for the teens. Like if they don't want to go out and be sitting on the couch at their friend's house just being bored scrolling YouTube, they can go ahead and come out and book a podcast session, use the room, or maybe we're gonna have events. We're gonna get creative with this, and that's why I'm like really tapping in. I'm really trying my best to get the word out of this vision I see, because as I have met with other individuals, they align, and it's so crazy because I tell myself like, am I the only one that's like this? But no, once I start having these conversations, once I start putting this out into the universe, the people gravitate to what this is because they want something similar or maybe something just like it. So yeah, the speakeasy for survivors. When the sun goes down, the safe haven becomes a speakeasy style lounge. Survivors, families, and kids come together to learn new skills and crafts or to simply have fun in a place that feels safe. And so we are building the space between them. It's not another program, it's not another therapy practice or another building with one agency working a 9 to 5. It connects the prevention, recovery, disability, family support, workforce development, community connection through one coordinated wraparound model. So no one navigates disconnected systems alone. As I like to say, communities don't lack services, they lack connection. Services don't lack vision, they lack structured integration. And it was designed for humanity, for every walk of life, for every season of growth, and for every chapter of someone's story. The child discovering imagination, the working parent needing support, the entrepreneur building a dream, the individual in recovery rediscovering purpose, the teenager searching for belonging, the couple that needs to be reconnecting, and the survivor rebuilding safety, and the community member seeking connection as well. Sometimes a parent doesn't need another referral, they need time. Parents don't suddenly stop caring more often. They are carrying responsibilities no family was meant to carry alone. Work, appointments, therapies, finances, school, caregiving, and everyday life all at once. So that's where we have the community child watch. We want it to be affordable, short term child watch so parents can invest in themselves while their child is nearby, safe, engaged, and learning. If it's time to attend therapy or meet a case manager, or if they are a case manager, or if they are a therapist, or if they got to finish school, or if they want to build a business, the community child watch is going to be that support. It's time to create, to enjoy a healthy meal, or simply breathe, and that's where the cafe is going to come in. And we want to have healthy foods in there. We want to have foods that are going to increase the productivity in our physical health as well. 3 engines and 1 mission. So the Safe Haven Center was never designed to depend on one funding source. It was designed to become a self-sustaining community ecosystem. So it's going to be individuals and families, providers and entrepreneurs, and the public and community investment. So we're a B2C, a B2B, and a P2C. 3 different pathways and one shared mission, building stronger people. And this is where we're at. So we're designed to maximize people, not profit. This is a nonprofit social enterprise. Earned revenue is reinvested back into the people and communities it serves. So we're going to have memberships. When someone buys a membership, they're going to keep the Child Watch affordable. What is this membership? So somebody wants to pay, I don't know if we'll do like 40 a month or we'll have to look at the exact numbers. But how I thought of this was because, for instance, massage parlors started doing this, and also like Lifetime Fitness, which I love that place, but they start like having memberships, and then all of a sudden, if you go to another state and you have this membership, you can go ahead and tap in there, or you get childcare services for less, or you can go enjoy the pool. And then for massage parlors, they start doing this, and it's like, okay, you pay this every month, and then you can book a massage any time of the month, or you get half off of a Reiki session, similar stuff like that. So this membership is going to pay so that way if they pay for the membership, they're going to be able to schedule a time to come in any time of that month to drop off their child for engagement, for to work, to grow. And that's what that's going to be for. It's not going to be $250 every week or like a $75 bill at the end of the day. It's going to be a set membership price. And then that's where that consistency is going to come in. And that's going to be the same thing with our co-working model. We're going to do that with the offices. So individuals will have an option to either rent it out like by the hour, or they can get a membership and then not have to rent it out by the hour, but they will have to rent the meeting rooms out by the hour. And then they'll get discounts on the events we have, and discounts to the cafe, and discounts to just all the other stuff that we have because they have purchased a membership. And it's going to be the same thing with the therapists and coaches. If a therapist leases an office, they're going to expand the access to the wraparound care. They're also going to be able to have access to that child care as well. They're going to be the first come, first serve when it comes to the child care watch. The cafe, when a person enjoys the cafe, they support the programming and the scholarships. The public investment, when the public partners invest, they strengthen an ecosystem that keeps giving. Places like Lava Island and all these other places that pop up, they're absolutely fun. They're great. I take my kids to them, but they drain your pockets, and then you leave and you're done, and it's like, when will we spend money again to do this all over again? It's not, to me, it's not providing what I want it to do for my life, because it's an escape. Entertainment is enjoyment, but it's also escape, especially when you're in survival. So we want to provide entertainment that's not an escape, but is truly an enjoyment, where if they start to feel they're escaping, they're going to be met with, oh, there's therapy offices here. Oh, there's this event that's going on. Or, oh, there is a safe haven shelter that can be connected to my friend who's going through a hard time. I just have to let her or give her the intake information. Like, that's what this is going to be. Yes, they're going to enjoy a date night, but if something starts to feel off, they're going to be reminded, okay, what am I really doing here in this moment? So every dollar creates another ripple, and every ripple strengthens another life, another family, and another community. So, how are all of this going to get funded? The 4 revenue ecosystems for this one mission, and that's bridging these gaps. Sponsorship, right off the bat, already not going to say too much about this because I'm not going to give it away. already have our spreadsheet built up of where we're targeting, who we're reaching out to, who we're going to work with, and then our affiliate revenue is the exact same. And then we're going to tap into the grants and foundations. And then same time of the partnerships. And then the most strategic partners are going to be our PASA agencies and mental health practices. Along with, I should have put that on there too, our food and beverage partners as well. Because if they want to utilize the cafe or start putting their products in, or maybe they even want to just host the whole cafe, for an event, that's going to be our strategic partners. Um, PASA agencies, a lot of the time, unfortunately, we have seen a lot of funding or a lot of loss. And then the people who are being served by the PASA have to find a new outlet or have to find a new. I've seen it so many times, and when I heard about what was going on with this place called the Hive in Parker, Colorado, because it was funded a lot of money, super excited, got it, put 3D printers in there, podcast room, embroidery machine, all the things, whole thing. But then they lost it. And I get it, it's expensive. You got to put a lot of money into marketing, you got to do all this stuff. But the thing is there was no integration of a support community system there. It was, like I said, it was a great intention, a great mission that was provided the funds, and then it was built up. But there was no groundwork of like, who is our community partners? Not just who is our community, but who is our community partners? And who is going to serve the community outside of just the community? And how are we going to funnel back into that? So yeah, PASA providers, to be able to utilize it, not just one PASA provider, but multiple. Community connector and youth mentorship for DSPs or DCWs, both one the same, or that wraparound care model. So as myself, like, I'm a DCW, and when I realized like I can contract as a DCW more than I can be an employee, of course, like, the whole point of my nonprofit and on this journey was really trying to get people to understand that once you find mission purpose, once you find your intention and where you want things to go in this world to make an impact for generations, is when you will never want to be an employee ever again. You will want to be part of an operating system that is a support system. And that's why it is so hard. And I think, like, some people see this as like, oh, it's defiance and this and that. No, it's, you will never make more than your boss. And that's what being an employee really is. And so we won't have employees working here. We will have partners. We will have contractors. We will have individuals who want more than just a paycheck. Because when you want individuals who just want a paycheck, they start getting a lot of burnout. You start getting a lot of that poor service. I see it all the time. I went through it too. I worked in the food and beverage industry since I was like 12, and it was so much burnout. I eventually like adapted to become passionate about wanting to have my own restaurant and everything, but it wasn't my mission purpose. All right, so here we go with the federal funding. Right now, SAMHSA has 281 million in federal funding, and it just opened. With 15 grant programs, it spans for the addiction treatment, the trauma-informed care, recovery supports, and workforce development. And this is literally just like not even, this is like a speck of what is out there for funding. And so it's like, how do you get even 20,000 of this, 10,000 of this? You have a supportive team, you have a board, you have a foundation really laid out, not just something that's written down on paper and then you figure it out once you get the funding, because that is what happens a lot of times. things look great on paper, and then all of a sudden once the funding happens, and then it all crashes and burns, and then all of a sudden there's auditing and all these other things going on. That's not what we're doing here. And that is exactly why I am doing all my efforts to communicate and show up and be consistent at, because I know this is something that can happen for the community, not just for Colorado, for the United States and hopefully other countries as well. But this is huge, being able to utilize what we are given to stop the hamster wheel and to defeat this epidemic of addiction, domestic violence, abuse, and broken systems. So the journey and milestones, it started with one woman operation in 2024 of March. I served about 10 to 15 participants, served directly with crisis intervention, case management, and safe housing mentorship. Don't know how I made it through that, but I did, and I'm really thankful I did. It was not an easy road, and honestly, it took a lot out of me, and there's still a lot that I'm still healing from and working through and all the things. But I'm thankful I'm here now in 2025. So we've established the first board in November. We've expanded online presence and initiated contract work with PASA provider. 2026, we added the director of our peer program, partnered with a recovery coach and a paralegal volunteer, partnered with Daughters of Both Sons in South Carolina, and secured another developmental partner. And so, Daughters of Both Sons is a mental health practice, and they're nationwide. So, that was like a huge one because mental health is at the core of this. If you do not have mental health integrated into such a big modality of what you're trying to do to make an impact, it's going to plummet. Like, you need mental health. It's it's the number one thing that keeps everything functioning. It's not money. It's not the likes, it's not the followers, it's not the publicity. It is literally mental health, and then education and growth and self-actualization. All right, so 80% engagement in services, 70% improved emotional wellness, and 75% progress on daily living goals. Those numbers are projected from what the data I have gathered from past clients and work I've done in the research. So, right now, where we're starting is 65,000, where we are going to start funding to with not just pitching decks and showing up at angel investor conferences and all things. It's going to be the fundraisers and all the partnerships. So why I say why 65,000? So a lot of vehicles that are really nice and brand new, maybe like this, what was that saying? A Lamborghini. You usually don't see commercials for Lamborghinis. You don't see commercials for Bentleys. You don't see, but these are really expensive cars. And the thing is, though, that they pay themselves off because most of the time these cars are not being wear and tear on the road 24/7 doing a bunch of 9 to 5. And so where I was going with that is 65,000 to everything that we're doing is literally just like purchasing a nice car. We're not asking for 1,000,000. We're not asking for 100,000. 65,000. And so where we're going to start is case managers. We want to put on 2 full-time case managers who have experience, and then 2 part-time who can be trained by experienced case managers. And then we want to have the coaches, and this is also going to finish our credentialing piece because we just don't want to take only Medicaid. We want to take ACNA, all these, or Aetna, not ACNA, Aetna, Cigna, you name it, we want to take it. We also want to have the private pay. We also want to do different modalities like Zip Pay, Klarna, Afterpay, all the things. We want to provide not just one way to get in the door. And then when we open the Safe Haven, we're going to have a celebration because it's going to be a speakeasy lounge. So yeah, that event is going to be, it's going to hopefully be big when we do open it. And then Strength and Outcomes, prove the model with data, funders, and ensures that you can trust us. Because it's a small amount for such a big dream, a big project. It really is. And then, well, what about all the other money? Like I said, affiliates, events, sponsors, some grants, scholarship unit. We're going to get the rest, but we want to start here and we can make this go a very long way. So 65,000 is where we're starting. That's the goal. Right now, I've looked at spaces that are about 9,000 a month. And then I've also seen land. So like where we're at is like, do we want to build this from scratch on land? Or do we want to renovate or lease to eventually then maybe just buy it? There's a place called 2-10 Home Buyers Warranty on Iliff. Well, on Parker by Iliff. And the owner, the founder of that, I remember I was an employee, I was an accounting receivable. He said he started in that building. It's a big old building. You can't miss it. You always see it on the highway. Now there's a big old red sign on it that says offices for $500 a month on it. But he gave the story of he started with that building and did not know how he was going to pay for it. But then his journey with the builders and the contracts, all things, it fulfilled itself. But now, who knows where he's at now? But what I'm just trying to say is like, we're not going to just all of a sudden purchase a place that's 10,000 a month and be like, okay, yeah, we got this. No, we have individuals who have smarts in what we're trying to do here. They have portfolios. We're working with people that know what real estate is, know what investment is. We're not just throwing our money at something and saying, oh, let's wing it. Let's hope it works out. No, we want to be strategic and we also want to save while doing this, especially on our first run of it. We want it to be successful. We don't want it to be something that's going to fall. And so, yep, that's how we keep the bridge open, bridging the gap between abuse, addiction, and systems, one human at a time. We are having an event on July 18th on Parker and Havana corner, 2600 G. Gerald's Closet. It is a consignment shop, and we'll be doing the Careful Skate School, being able to decorate a skate deck, paint pouring. We have a jeweler who's coming, also someone who does, they sell stuffed animals, another person who does Mexican candy. We're also going to be raffling off like services and experiences, and as well with art. So we want this event to be our first fundraiser event that's really going to kick off. Old school style, like we got a DJ. We're going to be having fun where if people are going to be driving by because it's a very busy street, I want them to see what's going on over there. Like, what's going on over there? Like, because it's such a, it's right by Hooters and it's like a little enclosed spot, but it's like a lot, right? And so we're going to be doing stuff inside where the consignment shop is and outside. And you're going to be able to shop inside with if you get a gift certificate, I'll be getting those to give them out. You can go ahead and use the gift certificate, go inside, or if you just want to go inside by yourself and just get some stuff. Regardless, it's a great mission. It's a great place. She's a great individual, huge inspiration there. I look up to her. She's been doing this consignment shop business for 14 years. She has a motivating story as well. So yeah, we're gonna be there July 18th from 1 to 5 on the corner of Parker and Havana. If you want to join us, if you want to get to know any of our team, go ahead and reach out. Thank you and have a great evening. This is the Conquered for Me podcast.